Recruitment of the employees. Recruiting refers to the process of attracting potential job applicants from the available labor force. Every organization must be able to attract a sufficient number of the job candidates who have the abilities and aptitude needed to help the organization to achieve its objectives. An effective employee selection procedure is limited by the effectiveness of recruiting process. Outstanding job candidate cannot be selected if they are not included in the applicant pool. The recruitment process also interacts with other personnel functions, especially performance evaluation, compensation, training and development, and employee relation. Recruiting is typically a human resource function. Recruitment and selection are interchangeably words used frequently by many, and recruitment is most commonly used word than the word selection. But there is difference between these two terms. Recruitment is the activity to find people who like to join organization. In other words, it's a process of inviting candidates for applying a job through various models in which organization asks for. Selection takes place only after inviting candidates. As the human resource or manpower or employees are pillars and key assets for any organization, recruitment is only the way to raise manpower needed for organization. Recruitment is nothing but inviting the candidates to apply for the job advertised or vacant. Subsequently, the candidates who are identified as qualified to a job which is advertised is asked to go through the selection process, which consists of different kinds of tests for knowing, knowledge, skills, and attitude that are required for performing to a particular job. To put in simple words, recruitment is a process of calling candidates by way of giving notification in the newspaper, advertisements, publishing on websites, and contacting job consultancies, etc. Simply mean without the recruitment there is a scope for selection process. All the candidates who are invited in the recruitment cannot be deemed as selected because candidates have to go through selection process for providing their talent. Meaning of recruitment. Recruitment is the process of discovering competent employee out of available candidate in the market who are suitable to job and according to organization requirements. Recruitment is the process of attracting prospective employees and stimulating them for applying job in an organization. Recruitment procedure. Before going to recruitment, careful study is needed about jobs which are to be kept under recruitment. Careful study is nothing but doing job analysis, which is otherwise called as collection of every information about the job so as to figure out exact candidate needed to perform said job. HR manager needs careful attention and should be diligent while going for recruitment of human resource, since it grabs attention of prospective employees at large. However, it is not so easy to find out skilled people. Hence, various tests in selection process helps to identify potential candidate needed for an organization. Coming to procedure for recruitment, it depends on nature and size of organization, but concept of recruitment is one and same. Recruitment takes place in various models, which are basically categorized into two. First one is internal recruitment and external recruitment, which are elaborately explained in detail below. Whatever the model of recruitment preferred by an organization, it should be clear in what an organization needs and easily understandable by prospective employees at large so as to avoid frivolous and unsolicited applications which will consume a lot of time for an organization to identify them. Hence, organizations should be clear and thoroughly check before posting recruitment. Basic contents of recruitment notification. It contains brief about an organization which is recruiting. Contains number of posts, jobs lying vacant in an organization. Contains number of jobs is reserved category, especially in government organization. Jobs are allotted to reserved category. Contains information about gender needed for the jobs, for example, male or female. Contains information about educational qualifications needed to qualify for applying to a job. Certain thing contains information about work experience needed. Points from 2 to 6 are nothing but called as job specification. It is a statement that describes about the specifications needed by a candidate to have qualified for applying said job. It contains most important information, that is job description, which is the statement of information about duties and responsibilities of the job. Contains information about salary particulars, employers, benefits and other allowance to be provided. Selection test which must be passed by candidates so as per to have job. Terms and conditions if any. Recruitment scenario in the USA. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission or EEOC is charged with enforcing federal law against discrimination based on race, color, national origin, sex, age between 40 and 70, disability, veteran status, handicap, religion. Title of 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits employment practice that discriminate on the basis of sex. The law covers employers with 15 or more employees and prohibits sex-based discrimination in hiring, advancement, or any other term and conditions of employment. The law also includes discrimination based on maternity, pregnancy, and sexual orientation. Recruitment scenario in India. According to the Indian Constitution, Article 15(1) prevents the state from discriminating against a citizen based on religion, race, caste, sex, descent, place of birth, or residence. Article 16. Equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Article 16(1). There shall be equality of opportunity for all citizens in matters relating to employment or appointment to any office under the state. Article 16(2) states that no discrimination, no these grounds can be shown by the state in government recruitment. Article 16(4) allows the state to make provisions for reservation in appointments or posts in favor of the backward classes which is adequately represented in government services. Facts plus. The HR employment manager directs organizations' recruitment, screening, interviewing, selection, and placement activities. They manage employment functions and staff members. In addition, they extend job offers and establish starting salaries, arrange advertising and employing agency service, and produce affirmative actions or college recruiting programs. The HR recruiter screens and interviews potential employees on behalf of the organization. They conduct pre-employment tests and reference checks as well as provide training and guidance to hiring managers on policies, process, and regulatory issues. Additionally, they make place employment advertisement and analyze reports and trends. According to the book Job Search Basics, 3rd edition by Michael Furr, the most available jobs are with medium and small organizations versus larger companies. Companies with less than 250 employees account for 71% of the job market. Companies with 250 to 999 employees account for 60%. Companies with more than 100 and 1,000 employees, that means companies with more than 1,000 employees account for remaining 13%. Internal recruitment sources. First one, promotion and transfer. Many organizations choose to fill vacancies through promotions or transfers from within whenever possible. Although most often successful promotions from within have some drawbacks as well. The person's performance on one job may not be a good predictor of performance on another because different skills may be required on the new job. For example, not every good worker makes a good supervisor. In most supervisory jobs, an ability to accomplish the job or work through others require skills in influencing and dealing with people that may not have been a factor in non-supervisory jobs. It's clear that people in organizations with fewer levels may have less frequent chances for promotions. Also, in most organizations, promotions may not be an effective way to speed the movement of protected class individuals up through the organization if that is an organizational concern. Second one, job posting. An organization can also use the policy of job posting as an internal recruitment source. In the job posting system, the organization notifies its present employees about job openings through the use of bulletin boards, company publication, or personal letters. The purpose of the job posting is to communicate that the job opening exists. An effective job posting system involves the following guidelines. Job posting should be prominent. Clear job specifications should be communicated so that applicants assess themselves either they're eligible to apply or not. Once the decision is made, all applicants should be informed about the decision. Job posting system generally works well quietly in a well formation. Third one, contacts and employee referrals. At least 60% recruiters in India use employee referral programs to get quality talent. Survey ED Bureau 20 October 2015. At least 60% of recruiters are using their employers' referral programs to get talent people in India, according to a recruitment trend survey conducted by LinkedIn shared with Economic Times. The India Recruiting Trends 2016 study was conducted among 298 Indian recruiters or talent acquisition decision makers who work in a corporate HR department and have some authority in their company's recruitment solution budget. These individuals focus exclusively on recruiting, manage a recurring team, or are HR generalists. Indian recruiters were also the most confident about measuring the quality of their hires, 54%, as opposed to recruiters in markets like China, 20%, and Australia, 19%. Nearly 39% agreed that quality of hire was the most valuable performance metric. 55% said employee referral programs were the top source of quality hires. 30% either shared or contributed to employer branding with other functions, and 36% said employee retention was top priority. Employee referrals are more trustworthy and help hire good quality skills in the system. Experts have claimed that employee referral schemes have helped them enhance the retention levels and mitigate recruitment costs. Many firms have found that their employees can assist in the recruitment process. Employees may actively solicit applications from their friends and associates before going to outside to recruit employees. Many organizations ask present employees to encourage friends or relatives to apply for the job openings. Contacts and referrals from the present employees are available. Sources of recruits. Employees' referrals are relatively inexpensive and usually produce quick responses. However, some organizations are concerned about problems that result from hiring friends of employees. For example, the practice of hiring friend and relatives favoritism, cliques, etc. The fourth one, recruiting former employees and applicants. Former employees and former applicants are also good internal sources for recruitment. In both cases, there is a time-saving advantage because something is already known about the potential employee. Former employees. Former employees are considered an internal source in the sense that they have ties to the company. Some retired employees may be willing to come back to work on a part-time basis. and may recommend someone who would be interested in working for the company. Sometimes people who have left the company to raise a family or complete a college education are willing to come back to work after accomplishing those personal goals. Individuals who left for other jobs might be willing to return for a higher rate of pay. Job sharing and flexi-time programs may be useful in luring back retirees or others who previously worked for the organization. The main advantage in hiring former employees is that their performance is known. Some managers are not willing to take back a former employee. However, these managers may judge their attitude toward high-performing former employees as the employment market becomes more competitive. In any case, any decision should be dependent on the reason of the employee left in the first place. If there are problems with the supervisor or company, it is unlikely that matters have improved in the employee's absence. Concerns that employers have in rehiring former employees include vindictiveness or fear of moral problems among those who stayed. Former applicant and previous walk-ins. Another potential source of applicants can be found in the organizational files. Although not entirely an internal source, those who have previously applied for jobs can be recontacted by mail and quick and inexpensive way to fill an unexpected opening. Applicants who have just walked in and applied may be considered also. These previous walk-ins are likely to be more suitable for filling unskilled and semi-skilled jobs. But some professionals openings can be filled by turning to such application. One firm that needed two cost accountants immediately contacted qualified previous applicants and was able to hire two individuals who were disenchanted with their current job at other companies. Fifth one, compassionate appointments. Compassionate appointment is an opportunity or job given to legal heir or dependent who is wife or son or daughter of an employee who was deceased while in the service, or if employee met with an accident which caused permanent disablement while in the service or went missing for 7 years or more. This sort of appointment are mainly seen in governmental organization. Points to remember about compassionate appointments. Married son is not treated as dependent on the government servant. Married daughter is treated as dependent on the government servant for compassionate appointment, and she should support other dependents of the family who are considered dependent family members. Dependent family members means first one spouse, second one son including adopted son, or third one daughter including adopted daughter, or fourth one brother or sister in case of unmarried government servant, or fifth one member of the armed forces who was wholly dependent on the government servant or member on the armed forces at the time of his death in harness or retirement or medical grounds, as the case may be. The lower age limit cannot be relaxed below 18 years of age for compassionate appointments. Upper age limit can be relaxed if necessary. In State Bank of India and others, B. Jaspalkar 2007 to TML 581 Supreme Court of India. The Supreme Court held that it is clear that the public post is not heritable. Therefore, the right to compassionate appointment is not heritable property. Unrecognized adopted kin cannot seek employment or compassionate grounds. Telangana High Court. Read judgment below. In WB 26868, 2090, Syed Sarwar Ahmed versus the Union Government of India, the Telangana High Court on 4/11/2019, then means the 4th of November of 2019, declared that since Muslim personal law doesn't recognize the adoption, claims from the adopted kin for employment or compassionate grounds cannot be entertained. The bench, comprising Chief Justice Raghavendra Singh Chauhan and Justice A. Abhishek Reddy, was dealing with a writ plea filed by one Syed Sarwar Ahmed, who was aggrieved with an order of the Central Administrative Tribunal, or CAT, which refused him in his claim. According to the petitioner, after the death of his adoptive father, he was entitled to be appointed as a German Dagsevak, a village postman, on compassionate ground. The postal department rejected the claim. The tribunal, in its order, pointed out that he had failed to produce documents in proof of ceremony of adoption. He filed an appeal against in order this to be in the High Court. The division bench went through the documents, held that since Muslim personal law doesn't recognize the adoption, the performance of ceremony and proof thereof was irrelevant. The bench further held that compassionate appointment was a matter of right. It's not only an exception. The bench accordingly dismissed the writ plea. Children born from void marriage entitled to compassionate appointment. Supreme Court. Read judgment below. In a recent judgment, the Supreme Court held that children born out of a void marriage are legitimate children and cannot be denied the benefits of compassionate appointment. Nothing that children don't choose their parents. The judgment delivered by bench of Justice Dai Chandrachud and Mr. Shah state that to deny compassionate appointments to a child born of a void marriage is deeply offensive. Children don't choose their parents. To deny compassionate appointment through the law states of a child of a void marriage as legitimate is deeply offensive to their dignity and is offensive to the constitutional guarantee against discrimination. Through the appeal filed by the Union of India, a decision of the Bombay High Court was challenged wherein compassionate appointment of the respondent who is child born from a second marriage was allowed. The father of the respondent was employed by the Central Railway in Mumbai and during the term of his service contracted a second marriage. Upon the demise of his father, the respondent applied for the compassionate appointment, which was rejected by Central Railway authorities. The respondent then approached the Central Administrative Tribunal against the rejection of his application, and the tribunal ruled in his favor. A review petition filed by the Central Railway against this order was dismissed, with an appeal before the Bombay High Court. In the meanwhile, the Railway Board issued a circular stating that compassionate appointment cannot be granted to children born from a second marriage or of a decreased employee. The High Court ruling that a child born in the second marriage is recognized as a legitimate child found no merits in the position and petition and upheld the tribunal's decision, aggrieved by the same, and railway authorities appealed before the Supreme Court. Additional Solicitor General Aman Laiki, appearing for the center, submitted that the right of a child born in a second marriage. Additional Solicitor General Aman Laiki, appearing for the center, submitted that right of a child born in a second marriage were only with respect to inheritance and property, whereas the right to employment was not an inheritable right. It was also submitted that since the heirs of a deceased employee don't have a right to a compassionate appointment, the central agency can form policy in a way to exclude spouses of second marriage or children born from them. Advocates Arjun Singh Bhati and Apurv Parashar, arguing on behalf of respondent, pointed out that the Hindu Marriage Act recognizes as a legitimate those children born from null and void marriage. It was also argued that as a policy decision, a spouse of a null and void marriage may be excluded, but a child recognized as legitimate by the law of the land cannot. While considering question of whether compassionate appointment can be treated as a right, the court observed that it is an entitlement and not a right. It went on to examine the object and purpose of such a scheme. Compassionate appointment is intended to alleviate the hardship that the family of a deceased employee may face upon premature death while in service. Compassionate appointment, in other words, is not founded merely on percentage or descent. For public employment must be consistent with quality of opportunity with Article 16 of the Constitution guarantees. The court also dwelt upon the issue of whether a policy can exclude children born from null marriage. It concluded that while the law holds marriage contracted the during subsistence of a valid marriage as void, children born from the same are treated as legitimate children. The law extends all the rights and protections to such children, and the state cannot go against the principles of Article 14 to exclude such children while devising a policy, the court held. Undoubtedly, the designing of a policy compassionate appointment, the state can prescribe the terms on which it can be granted. However, it is not open to the state, while making the scheme or rules, to lay down a condition which is inconsistent with Article 14 of the Constitution. The purpose of compassionate appointment is to prevent destitution and penury in the family of deceased employee. It went on to hold that the Railway Board circular creates two categories: legitimate children of deceased employee, holding that such classification bears no nexus to the object sought to be achieved. The court held, having regard to the purpose and object of a scheme compassionate appointment, once the law has treated such children as legitimate, it would be impermissible to exclude them from being considered for compassionate appointment. Children don't choose their parents. To deny compassionate appointment through the law treats a child of a void marriage as legitimate is deeply offensive to their dignity and is offensive to the constitutional guarantee against discrimination. Therefore, the court highlighted that the respondent in case meets all the requirements essential for applying for a compassionate appointment and dismissed the appeal. Court held that it cannot be disputed that the appointment or compassionate ground is required to be made only as per the policy of the government only in a case where the eligibility criteria under the scheme has been satisfied. It also cannot be disputed that the policy which was prevailing at the time when the deceased employee died, the application was made only is required to be considered. In view of the above, it cannot be said that the High Court has committed any error while calls for interference of this court is in exercise of powers under Articles 136 of the Constitution of India. Hence, the special leave petitions is dismissed. Pending applications stand disposed of